Today is the day when Chin Daoi's son and his girlfriend got engaged. After the engagement banquet, Chin Daoi and his wife accompanied the prospective in-laws out of the restaurant. Just as they approached the car, he noticed Su Xiaoqing hiding in a corner, and his expression changed instantly. He quickly took a step back, telling his son, "You go ahead and take uncle and aunt back. I have something to discuss with the restaurant owner." As the group gradually boarded the cars, Chin Daoi swiftly approached the earlier corner, demanding, "Come out." The moment Chin Daoi saw her, he felt uneasy all over. He lit a cigarette to ease his emotions and asked, "When did you come? Why are you here? How did you know we were here?" My mom told me. She said today, your son, got engaged." The way she said, "your son," sounded a bit odd because Su Xiaoqing is the half-sister of Chin Daoi's son from another mother. Chin Daoi suddenly felt infuriated. "Your mom told you? Does she have some serious illness? What does my son's engagement have to do with her? Why did she tell you? Is she trying to cause trouble?" Su Xiaoqing didn't understand the term, cause trouble, but she didn't want to waste words. She straightforwardly said, "Dad, it's not my mom who asked me to find you. I came on my own. I have something to discuss with you." "Something?" Chin Daoi thought, could it be money she's after? He didn't voice his thoughts but instead looked around warily, asking her what it was. Before she could speak, her stomach growled loudly. Su Xiaoqing quickly covered her belly, feeling embarrassed. "I came over at 10, didn't have time to eat." Chin Daoi didn't want to rush her and was concerned about being seen. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "There's a Western restaurant across the street. Let me treat you to a meal." Su Xiaoqing was momentarily stunned, feeling a mix of emotions. Even if he had said, "I'll take you to eat," instead of treat, she wouldn't have this awkward feeling. Inside the restaurant, Chin Daoi chose a secluded spot, ordered spaghetti, and expressed his discontent to Su Xiaoqing. "Xiao Su, it's not that I'm heartless, but I have my difficulties. My wife has a bad temper. If she finds out you came to see me again, especially on your brother's engagement day, who knows how she'll react?" Su Xiaoqing was astonished. Did he just say, "your brother"? Didn't he find it odd or uncomfortable? "So, please don't do this in the future. I've told you last time when you came to my house. If there's something, send me a message. I'll reply when I see it." The last time he referred to was 8 years ago when she borrowed money for college. "I did send a message, but you never replied. I called you and found out you changed your number again. Why didn't you tell me when you changed your number?" Chin Daoi paused. "I forgot. Give me your phone, I'll save it now." After saving the number, he said, "Saved. However, unless it's something urgent, let's try not to contact each other. It's better for both of us. Hurry and eat, I won't accompany you. You know, there's something at home today, and I have to rush back to entertain guests. If you have something, say it quickly." Su Xiaoqing intended to have a quick bite first, but hearing him, she put down the chopsticks and said, "Dad, can you lend me some money?" Chin Daoi's whole body trembled. "That's how it is. After graduating from university, I worked several jobs, and at the beginning of last year, I joined my current company. I really like my job now and plan to stick with it. It's just, the distance from my residence to the workplace is just too far. I wake up at 5 every morning, take a 40-minute bus, transfer to a 10-minute subway ride, and finally walk for over 10 minutes to ensure I'm not late. This way, I spend nearly 3 hours commuting every day, which is very inconvenient. I've tried looking for a place near the office, and while there are options, the rent is too high for me to afford. So, I want to buy a house." Chin Daoi clenched his toes. "Since my freshman year, I've been working part-time on weekends and during spare time. I worked multiple jobs in a day, using the money not only for tuition and living expenses but also saving the leftovers. Along with frugal living in the past few years, cutting down expenses, I've managed to save over 400,000. In these past couple of years, I've dreamed of being able to buy a small 30 to 40 square meter apartment near the office. This way, I won't have to spend so much time on the road every day, allowing me more time and energy to do what I love. I've been yearning for it day and night, and finally, my wish might come true." Su Xiaoqing's eyes sparkled. "There's a 38 square meter apartment, very close to my office, just a 10-minute walk away. I went to see it, and everything about it is perfect, just like the small dream house I've always imagined. Moreover, the price is reasonable, only 600,000. It's fully furnished, ready for move-in. Dad, do you know how ecstatic I was? I was so excited that I couldn't sleep the whole night. But, I've tried every method, and the most I can gather is 500,000. So, Dad, can you help me? Chindeoi. I came to you because I really have no other choice. The property owner is in a hurry to go abroad and demands full payment, not accepting installments. I've said a lot of good things, and she agreed to give me 3 days to raise the money. If it goes beyond 3 days, she'll sell the house to someone else. Dad, I really need this house. Can you lend me 100,000 yuan? I'll definitely pay it back. No, Chindeoi, sweaty from the repeated use of Dad, said with a pained expression, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's just, as you know, I'm just an office worker. My wife is in a similar situation. We have your brother and your younger brother at home. The older one is preparing for marriage, which requires money, and the younger one is still in school. Without me saying, you also know how significant the expenses are at home. My wife and I are constantly worrying about money. If you needed 3 or 5,000, I could find a way to give it to you. But 100,000, I really can't help. Dad. Su Xiaoqing anxiously pleaded, can't you think of a solution? I really want that house. I don't want a luxurious place, and I don't have any other extravagant desires. I just want a place that I can call my own. Su Xiaoqing had no other choice. She could only play the emotional card. Over these years, you should be able to guess what kind of life I've been living. From childhood to now, I don't know where my roots are, where my home is, who I belong to, and who should take care of me. You have your family, and my mom, she has her difficulties too. I can only shrink into a ball, living cautiously, trying not to trouble you all. My only request is just to live. Unconsciously, I've lived up to now. I can't say I've lived a great life, but it's not too bad either. I think, for you and my mom, it should be something to be proud of. After all these years, you haven't really looked after me. I haven't caused any trouble or brought shame to you. But now, I really want to have a home of my own. I don't want to rent anymore, don't want to be evicted by landlords, don't want to wander aimlessly. I want a house, a place to settle down, a little nest where I can hide when I'm feeling wronged or sad, without fear or worry. That would make me content. I would feel like I have roots, a home, a place to rely on. I won't be like a wild grass swaying in the wind, a child without a home. I might even live my whole life without love or marriage. Despite playing the emotional card, Su Xiaoqing was genuinely hurt by her words, and tears flowed uncontrollably. Every sentence, every word she spoke, was the truth. More genuine than genuine gold. Dad, can you understand my feelings? I've asked you for help before, borrowed money from you, but you refused. Yet, I still gave myself hope, gathered the courage to come to you. Please, don't refuse me again this time, okay? I promise, I will definitely pay it back. I can sign a promissory note or pay interest. If I miss this house, I'll be very sad. Chindeoi remained silent for what felt like a century, but in the end, he gave Su Xiaoqing a heartless refusal. I understand what you're saying, but all the money at home is in my wife's hands. I really can't help you. Xiao Su, you're a good kid, and I've let you down. Well, it's not early now, and guests are still waiting for me at home. If I don't go back soon, they'll get suspicious. The dinner bill has already been settled, you finish eating and go back. Be safe on the way. No. Dad, don't leave. Su Xiaoqing teary-eyed, grabbed him. Dad, please help me. I know 100,000 is not difficult for you, only you can help me. What about 50,000? Is 50,000 okay? I'll figure out the remaining 50,000 in some other way. I'll sign a promissory note right away. 30,000. What about 30,000, Dad? If not, even 20,000 is fine. But Chindeoi forcefully pulled away from her grasp. Why? Su Xiaoqing completely broke down. Why did you buy a big apartment for your son, enroll your younger son in expensive tutoring classes, and I'm just asking to borrow 20,000, and you won't agree? What have you given me all these years? From my birth until now, you've only paid me 8,000 in child support. And that was because my mom had to ask you for it. Since you didn't want to take responsibility, why did you cheat on your wife in the first place? Chindeoi was sweating profusely. Lower your voice, what are you shouting? Why I gave birth to you, you should ask your mom, not me. Why should I ask her? Did she force you at knife point to sleep with her? Did she push you to cheat on your wife? How can you be so disgusting? So filthy. What are you saying? Chin Daoyu angrily retorted, I didn't ask her to have you. It was her lack of self-respect, actively throwing herself at me. She thought leaving you would make me divorce my wife. She dragged on without getting an abortion, and in the end, her husband found out. She didn't dare to confess and gave birth to you. She chose to have you, so go find her, not me. Su Xiaoqing finished the plate of spaghetti with tears in her eyes. Not a single strand was left behind. She laughed at the absurdity of being able to eat in such a situation and still feel hungry. After finishing her meal, she took the last bus back home. Strictly speaking, it couldn't be considered her home. Since middle school, Zhang Kaiyun had cleared out all her belongings, including the little wooden board she had slept on for many years, and tossed it away. She no longer had a place in that home. Before the age of 6, Su Xiaoqing enjoyed a happy childhood like any other child. Despite Zhang Kaiyun being harsher than other mothers, frequently scolding her for no reason, she still felt happy. However, after giving birth to her younger brother, Zhang Kaiyun showered all her love on him, becoming even more harsh towards Su Xiaoqing. Still, she felt happy because she had a family and parents. Everything changed on a day when she was 6 years old. On that day, Su's father discovered that Su Xiaoqing wasn't his daughter but the result of the affair between Zhang Kaiyun and Chin Daoyu. Enraged, he nearly killed the mother and daughter. Zhang Kaiyun thought he would go after Chin Daoyu, but she underestimated a man's dignity and face. After beating Zhang Kaiyun, he threw Su Xiaoqing into the storage room. From that day on, the storage room became Su Xiaoqing's room. Su's father didn't want anyone to know that he had been cuckolded and had raised another man's child for 6 years. Just to be sure, he even had a paternity test done for his 2-year-old son. Once confirmed as his own, he decided to keep this matter buried and warned Zhang Kaiyun not to contact Chin Daoyu again, or he would kill her. Zhang Kaiyun nodded vigorously. Her husband had forgiven her, and instead of kicking Su Xiaoqing out, he was willing to keep her. She was already grateful. However, from that day on, she felt no warmth towards Su Xiaoqing. She was a shame, proof of her being played by Chin Daoyu. Zhang Kaiyun felt no love for her, only disgust. Deep, deep disgust. From that day on, the little Su Xiaoqing began her hellish life. The storage room was infested with roaches, centipedes, geckos, and even mice. The bites from the centipedes caused blisters that festered, painful and itchy. The storage room was tiny and couldn't fit a bed. Her bed was made of 2 stools and a wooden board. The board was not only hard but also extremely unstable. She often fell off it in the middle of the night, bruised and swollen. But she didn't dare to complain. She should be content. Her parents were a pair of adulterers, and her nominal father hadn't thrown her out like a dog. He was willing to continue taking her in. What else could she be dissatisfied with? An illegitimate child should live like one. Her way of life was to minimize living standards as much as possible, not easily ask for anything. She didn't dare to ask for money to buy school supplies, picking up what classmates discarded. She didn't dare to play with classmates, fearing to damage her clothes, as she couldn't afford new ones. She didn't dare to get sick or cough, afraid of being scolded, and medicine was expensive, she didn't deserve it. In that house, even drinking water was a gift from them. The only thing she dared to ask freely for was the free air. She vividly remembered a time when she went to a classmate's house and was stunned by the pink and dreamy room. She couldn't believe there was such a warm and colorful room in the world, a bed with pink canopy and a soft, fluffy carpet underneath. That bed seemed so fluffy and soft, lying on it must feel like lying on a cloud. Su Xiaoqing didn't know how she endured it all the way to this point. The only memorable thing was the difficulty of going to school. Because she had to save up her own tuition fees, or else she would have to drop out. Minors couldn't work anywhere, only picking up scrap metal at night. Picking during the day would be seen by classmates. Later, she got into university. Faced with a tuition fee of 5,000 or 6,000, Zhang Kaiyun told her to figure it out herself. The result was that the 7,000 she worked hard for 2 months was stolen by her younger brother. In 3 days, he spent all but a few hundred. When Zhang Kaiyun found out, instead of blaming her son, she scolded Su Xiaoqing for not securing the money properly. She even refused to repay the money her son owed, telling her she might as well drop out or go find Chin Daoyu. She shouldn't act like a debt collector in front of her. In the end, Zhang Kaiyun did take her to find Chin Daoyu. However, due to not controlling her emotions, the conversation collapsed, and Chin Daoyu left on the spot. Fortunately, a classmate who knew her situation sympathized with her and willingly lent her 5,000 yuan, allowing her to smoothly enter university. This is Su Xiaoqing's bitter life as an illegitimate child for more than 20 years. No family affection, no warmth, no home. She once saw a very thin dog. Someone threw a steamed bun to it, but it only took a few bites. Then, using its paws, it dug a hole and buried the remaining bun. It didn't know when the next meal would come, so it wanted to save the bun for later. She was the same. Because she had no one to rely on, no expectations, she worked desperately and saved money. She was extremely frugal with herself because she feared that if she fell ill one day, she wouldn't have money for food or medicine. Not knowing when she might die, she especially wanted to have her own house before she died. This way, if someone found her body, it would be in her little home, not a rented one. She didn't want that, it would be too bleak. Zhang Kaiyun didn't expect Su Xiaoqing to come back. She coldly said, "Did you see him? What are you looking for him for? Did he agree to see you?" Su Xiaoqing replied, "I went to borrow money from him." Zhang Kaiyun asked, "Borrow money? Why do you need to borrow money from him? Aren't you good at making money?" Su Xiaoqing looked around. The room was no different from before, except that the storage room was already filled with trash, and not even a board could be squeezed in. With a hopeful heart, Su Xiaoqing said, "I want to buy a house. I'm short of 10,000. I know you have it, lend it to me, and I'll repay you." "What? Buy a house?" Zhang Kaiyun was shocked. "You come to borrow money from me to buy a house? Are you crazy? If I had money, I would have bought a house for your brother a long time ago. He hasn't even had a girlfriend till now, and both your dad and I are getting white hair from worrying. You, a girl, want to buy a house? Do you know how much money it takes to buy a house? You're short of just 10,000, and you actually have that much money. If you have this much money, why don't you help your brother buy a house? How do you think of this?" Su Xiaoqing turned around to leave. Zhang Kaiyun grabbed her and said, "Don't go. Let me tell you, your brother can't find a girlfriend now because he doesn't have a house. First help your brother buy a house, and in the future, we'll earn money together to buy one for you." "Shameless. What did you say?" Zhang Kaiyun raised her hand and slapped Su Xiaoqing. "Who are you calling shameless? Huh? Who are you scolding? I gave birth to you, provided for your food, and sent you to school. Yet, you scold me. What qualifications do you have to scold me? I let you live, raised you. Not your dad. What do you think you are? You're just a bastard that Qin Daoi didn't want. I kept you and raised you. Not him. You wolf-hearted thing. Scolding me, you'll face retribution. Don't make it sound so good." Su Xiaoqing was completely angered. "You're not my mom, and he's not my dad. Don't tarnish the words mom and dad. You're just a pair of adulterers. You." Zhang Kaiyun was furious. At this moment, Su Xiaoqing's irresponsible brother returned. Seeing the situation, he reached out and grabbed Su Xiaoqing's neck. Su Xiaoqing fought with all her strength and kicked him to the ground. From behind, he angrily shouted, "You illegitimate child, how dare you kick your old man? Tomorrow is the last day to buy the house." Su Xiaoqing had no other choice. At midnight, she called Qin Daoi, solemnly telling him that she was ready to commit suicide. Before dying, she had written her entire life story and planned to post it online. Afraid that Qin Daoi wouldn't believe her, she sent him screenshots of the edited exposure content, containing his identity information and photos, for his review. She explained that tomorrow was the last day to buy the house. If it passed 8 a.m. the next morning, she would leave this world, and these contents would be sent to where they should go on time. After that, Qin Daoi's successive calls were all hung up by her. Besides sending money, she didn't want to hear him say another word. At 6 in the morning, she received another call from Qin Daoi. 10,000, right? I'll lend it to you. But I warn you, I've recorded your call from yesterday. Your behavior is suspected of extortion. If you don't want to go to jail, it's best not to have a next time. Otherwise, I won't care about that much, and we'll all tear our faces apart and stop being human. Su Xiaoqing said, "Don't worry, I will pay you back." "Heh, I hope you keep your word." Qin Daoi sneered. "It seems that I was right about you before. You're just as despicable as your mother." Su Xiaoqing didn't retort. She grew up in thunder and lightning, such sarcastic words couldn't hurt her. Or, perhaps, she had long been numb to them. She only cared that she finally got what she wanted. Su Xiaoqing finally succeeded in buying the 38 square meter small house. After completing the procedures and getting the keys, Su Xiaoqing, with an extremely excited mood, entered the small house that truly belonged to her. The interior didn't need decoration, but Su Xiaoqing did something extremely extravagant but indispensable for her. According to her memory, she perfectly replicated the pink dream room she saw at her classmate's house when she was 10. She bought pink latex paint, a pink bed, pink curtains, balloons, plush carpets, and various pendants and decorations. She spent 3 days, piece by piece, recreating the room from her memory that only a princess could have. It was like piecing together a complete version of herself. That day, she finally lay on a cloud and had a dream filled with pink clouds everywhere.